Okay, so I created a community of practice for teachers whose school is entering a one-to-one environment in which they need to include educational technology into their lessons. Now, you may remember that communities of practice serve a number of functions, including they connect people, they provide a shared context, they enable dialogue, they stimulate learning, they capture and diffuse existing knowledge while generating new knowledge, and they do so through an entirely collaborative process. This particular presentation is going to focus on one aspect of the community, and which is the creation of the artifacts, creations of lessons that include education technologies. There are a number of other things that the community does, and you see some of them here. Some of these things, like the mission statement and who we are here to kind of help people understand what the community does and its function. But we also have things here that keep the community engaged and try to sustain the community. Members of the community are going to go ahead and they're going to receive badges once they've demonstrated a certain level of proficiency with a particular education technology. We might have some Twitter contributions here. We've got community announcements in which we are just going to go ahead and, whether it's a new discussion board, a new addition to the library or whatnot, that's going to pop up here. We have a calendar of some various community events. We see here we're going to have monthly meetings where the community comes together, if they can, in person to kind of add a different level of context for that collaboration, communication, and kind of really build that community. Members are also going to have an opportunity to do webinars on their education technologies that they are becoming proficient in. You might need to do a webinar to go ahead and get your badge, for example. Then we're going to go ahead and add something like a monthly magazine, and this magazine will give another opportunity for members to expand their knowledge and to share, developing other skills that aren't really a focus of my particular presentation today, but communities allow members to develop their writing skills or analytical skills and whatnot. The community itself is made up of all of these things, but we also see a directory of the community members. And again, this is pretty much just a straightforward alphabetical list of who's who. This area here, the badges section, is going to show what technologies they are proficient in. Somebody who's searching for help at some point during the process might be able to search here. We'll go ahead and add some of these things which will be related to some of the profile information for each of the members, and then I can search again if I'm looking for somebody in it with a particular expertise. When we go to the library itself, again, I can do a search on various artifacts. I can use the search bar here, or I can go here and you can see here I've entered a grade 9 C2 level biology class. I'm looking for some kind of review tool, and that would go ahead and bring up some tools that might meet those criteria. This here might just be the main page. These are going to be sorted by educational technologies since that is the focus of this community, and here you might see the most recent blogs and things like that. So we'll go ahead and we'll also add the webinars and discussion forums and things like that that we have here. Getting into the main purpose of this particular presentation, we look at some of the learning outcomes in the creation of a lesson. The lessons are going to be the artifacts that really populate this particular community. When we look at the learning outcomes when we're developing this, the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to really develop an intentional search strategy. When teachers create lessons, it's a very high-level process, really kind of looking at that dialogic and exploratory sense. If we're looking at the Meaningful Online Learning Framework, we see teachers exploring resources where we're reflecting upon our past experiences. We're using all of those things to create that new lesson. What's worked, what hasn't worked, who the class is, what the particular learner needs are, and then how that all communicates. Now I'm adding in this idea of adding technology into it. So I need to go ahead and add that as well. I'm going to go ahead and maybe I'll again go back to the library and do a quick search, finding some tools. I'm going to go through a problem solving or a evaluation exploration process where I'm finding things that work for me. I'm going to go ahead, maybe I need to reach out to the forum. Maybe I want to do, as you can see here, maybe I want to do a brainstorming session. I want to bring in Blogger. I'm thinking about using Blogger for portrait reflection for an art course, but I'm not sure yet. I'm at the early stages of creating this lesson, so I want to reach out and create that. When I create the lesson, this is really going to be our main tool. You can see here we've got various fields that will be populated through drop-down menus. It's just an Adobe PDF that is fillable, and this is going to be part of the archive as well. Once you've gone ahead and done that, and you feel comfortable with your draft lesson, you're going to move on to the second stage, which is going back into that forum. But now you're going to go ahead and launch a discussion. You're going to share your artifact, your lesson with the community, getting feedback. And again, that first and even in this second stage, the learner is doing a lot of synthesizing. You're adapting artifacts or adapting feedback into your lesson, kind of making it better. So you can see here also I've added some tips and whatnot. As you know, that when a new discussion is launched, members are going to go ahead and get an alert. If you use a good naming convention here, you'll be able to see whether or not this is a discussion that you can contribute to effectively. Again, there's another tool that the creators can go ahead and utilize when they are putting this thing together. We're creating a thread, we're adding some attachments, which is our draft lesson. So here we're really focusing on the articulation of the process. We're really looking at we're going to enter in some collaboration. We're going to do some social negotiation with folks. Together with the community, we're going to also do some problem solving. What's going well, what's not, what have people seen, what might I learn from them. I'm then going to go ahead and integrate all that feedback, synthesize all of that feedback. What's interesting about this process, though, is that those who are contributing to the conversation are also achieving some learning outcomes. They are developing some analytical and communication skills by participating in this online discussion. They're doing some coaching, they're scaffolding, they're providing some support to the people who are reaching out to them. And with the members of the community and the creator, if you will, they are working on their problem-solving skills. Once that is all said and done, the teacher's going to go ahead and deliver their lesson. Maybe they'll tweet from the classroom. But at this point, they're really ready to go ahead and fill out their blog. And as we've seen throughout this entire semester in this course and others, blogging is a high-level it really gives you an opportunity to do some self-reflection. And we're doing some evaluation as well. And so our learning outcomes are pretty straightforward, where we're developing evaluation and communication skills, because I really have to evaluate how this whole process went. And I need to think about what went right, what went wrong, what information can I provide to the community so that somebody else might learn from my experience. This is articulation as I'm creating my blog, it's reflection as I'm creating the blog, thinking about what I did, and again, all those things that went right. I'm going to use that tool there, Blogger. A lot of schools are using the Google Suite, so Blogger is built right in. That's going to be about it. The only other thing when you think about communities of practice is how do you assess, how do you evaluate how well that is doing? You can certainly utilize some of the system metadata that is created, how many blogs are accessed, how many visits, how many participation, how many people participate on a particular blog, how many people are participating, etc. You can also include some surveys that really gets and directly asks people how a particular topic went and whatnot. And so we can utilize these to provide feedback and evaluate the effectiveness of the whole thing.